Yeah, you can never stand still. Yeah, you can never stand still. There is no such thing as stillness in this reality. Why did I say that, you ask? Well, time waits for no man. Basically, because time is moving. Whether you're standing still right here in this moment, you're still moving through time. And this movement through time does not necessarily mean progression. You can stand still and still stand through time, but you only progress through your age. You will age, but you will still be standing. You'll still be standing in time. So this I say because there's a serious subject that I want to discuss about time and progression. A lot of people settle for going through time, but then never really progress. This is because not all of us can progress, because not all of us know how. You see, our consciousness is a very, very broad topic, but basically, if you stand still right here and go through time, let's say 50 years passes by, you still are not any wiser. You may still not be any smarter because all you did was stand here. All you did was actually just inhabit space. Funny thing is, time and space coincide because whatever space you're in, time will still pass. So whether you are passing through that time using space or inhabiting that space, time still passes. Therefore, you are still going through time. You are still going through space. You are still passing through the progression. Now, the reason why I mention this is because there is a way to actually progress through time. Even though time is passing, you can still progress. This is called meditation. Because the reason that most people do not mature beyond a certain time is because we are creatures of habit. We are creatures that actually, when we like it a lot. Like, for example, there was once a guy who found a song that he liked back in the 60s. When he heard this song, he thought it was so profound. He kept it in his music collection and still has it today. It's 2025 by the time I'm recording this, and this guy still plays the same song and he calls it the classics. Yes, it is a classic. Yes, it's a great song. The artist was a great guy if he's still alive. But the fact of the matter is, that time still marks a stamp in his life. Let's say that guy was about 26 years old when he found this song. He's still listening to the same feels that he was when he was 26 years old. And the funny thing about the mind is, the mind does not necessarily the mind is not necessarily a subject of time. It is actually beyond it. So every time you hear a song that you heard in the 60s, that you enjoyed in the 60s, you always go back to that time where you first heard it. You go back to that time where you first heard it because literally it takes you back. You'll be like, this takes me back so many years because it's literally taking you back. It's taking you back conceptually. It's taking you back through your mental mind. But the fact of the matter is, time still passed. You are still in a different time. You're physically in a different time, but your physicality never moved. Your physicality never found its way through that time. I say that to say this because the point of the matter is, time still passes. And if your mind is still in back when you were still a youngin, back when you were younger, then what was the point of all that time anyway? If the time passed and you just stayed the same, what was the point? I say this to say this. The progression of time can be marked by a progression of consciousness. Because just because you are 50 years old doesn't mean you are wise. Just because you are 50 years old doesn't mean you know better than someone who's 20 years old. You can be 50 and actually know less. You can be 80 and actually know less. The true wisdom of the consciousness is the wisdom of the consciousness, a consciousness that actually has progressed itself through the evolution of its own soul. This, what I'm actually presenting to you, is the evolution through the chakras. The chakras, there are seven of them, if you're familiar. There are seven of them, the seven basic ones at least. And these chakras, I found that by progressing through them, my consciousness actually gets to progress. My thoughts actually get to mature. My ways of being actually move through, and actually I'm not marooned through time, because I can stand here all day. Yep, I can stand here all day, but still move through time, moving my consciousness through time, then allowing it to evolve through time, due to the fact that these psychocenters, these chakras as they are known, they actually help the consciousness go beyond itself. They help the being, the ego, not be marooned to a certain time stamp, but actually move forward in time. So these chakras actually are the true progression of life, because I've spoken to many older people, men at 80. As a young person, I was 16 at the time, and I asked them, so 80 years old, sir, what have you learned? What does 80 truly bring? What wisdom does the age of 80 bring? And he could not answer me. Well, he did answer me, but all he said was just, you gotta just be aware of what you're doing in life and hope for the best. And that, to me, was very unsatisfactory, because for so many years that have passed, I expected more. I expected some seriously profound wisdom. As a student of philosophy, I expected some philosophy that could take me forward years. I expected to actually skip through a lot of time in my life by just hearing the person who actually has lived that long. But no such thing actually came to pass. This person was not that mature, even though he was mature physically. Therefore, I learned over time that time passes anyway, but it does not mean that because you see a man, that man is not a child. That you see a woman, that woman is not still a little girl. We pass through time, but then our maturity is measured only through these chakras, because each chakra opened is actually a level of maturity. It's actually a face to face with your shadows, a face to face with your subconscious. Because if you are face to face with your subconscious, it brings you close to realizing the ground elements that actually form the foundation of your reality. It makes you see the many facets of this reality that actually are so multidimensional, that actually force you to grow. Like, you'll see there are points in your evolution where you actually see and realize things that make you never be able to go back to being the same. This is an exciting journey, to be honest, for someone who is actually looking for true progression, who actually fantasizes longevity and philosophizes, that the word, philosophizes the progression through time. This actually was like it. This was the realization. So actually going through time in this way, you are actually be able to go forward eons, or maybe go back eons as well. But the point of your progression is not that time stands still. The point of your progression is the evolution of your consciousness. Because if your consciousness does not evolve, you are most likely gonna come back through karma, come back to the same lessons. What I found is, when you actually leave this earth at a certain chakra point, let's say you are in your sacral chakra, there are seven of them, remember? You're at your sacral chakra, which is the second chakra from the root. Basically, The root is the first one, by the way. Basically, you will actually reincarnate back in that same chakra. And the painful part about the chakras, sorry to add informations like so far ahead in the video, but the funny thing about these chakras is that the kinds of the chakra that you are stuck at reflects the kinds of problems that you find. So if you have sacral chakra problems, you'll find you'll have problems with shame. You find the feelings of shame are almost inescapable for you. You'll find sexual problems. People who have been molested as children, this was a sacral chakra problem. It was not your fault, but it was kind of your fault because of reincarnation. You in your past life failed to pass through that chakra. Therefore, you find yourself actually facing sacral chakra problems. Those who are actually having trouble feeling sexy, feeling good in their body, this is a sacral chakra problem, meaning that you did not evolve through it. Your consciousness stayed the same. You probably lived another life where you probably lived to maybe 120, but still did not evolve through your sacral chakra. This is a sad fact because most people do not actually get over a lot of traumas from their childhood. Their childhood holds them to that trauma. They hold that trauma in their hearts. They go through their life trying to force it down, trying to forget it. But in actual fact, they never really forgot it. They actually stayed right there. They stayed right there when that trauma happened, and thus their evolution does not move forward. So, spiritual growth is the only growth that we can actually achieve that actually moves us forward in time. If we do not evolve spiritually, we will stay the same. Our physical body is like comforts. Our physical body is like the life that we live as as it does in everyday life. That's why we have this phrase called, the mundaneness of everyday life. The mundaneness of everyday life is only because you have gotten used to how life is. You have actually resigned yourself to accepting a certain model of life that is been the same. So every day to day seems the same. But the whole point of the day to day is that you actually find new ways to evolve your consciousness forward, find new learnings, because not learning something new makes you stay the same. Not wanting to learn something new is a sacral chakra problem. It shows that you are immature, thinking that you know everything, thinking that your knowledge is enough to move you forward. Your own knowledge in your own head. Like look at how big a head is. Yeah, you can say my head is big, but like look at how big a head is. Tell me how much knowledge can you actually store in there? The scientists that I've heard speak, they say it's an infinite amount of storage capacity in our brain. But the sad fact of the matter is, if you stopped learning by the time you finish school, you don't know much. If you stop learning at a certain time, maybe when you finish your degree, you still don't know much. Your learnings still are limited. There is still much more to learn. I say this to say this. Where you are going through time is gonna require a different version of you. If you do not find this different version of yourself, you will stay the same. You will stay right where you are. You will age, your time will pass, and maybe you will pass as well, but your soul will still be the same, will still be at the same age when it reincarnates, when it comes back and into another life. And the problems that you faced will find another face and come back as the same problems. This is why spiritual growth is so important, so that your spirit actually finds new arenas of life, areas of life to actually evolve in order so that we do not face the same problems in the next life or the next life or the next one, so that the progression is marked as in the individual as you are living. Yes, and also as in the next life it shows that, oh, there was progression from the last life, then the next life shows that it's progression in the next life, because these progression through these lives that we live is actually a progression of the consciousness. It's your soul's purpose. Your soul's purpose is not like limited to just one life. It needs these lives through reincarnation, because the soul is actually immortal. So it needs life through these other incarnations, through these other realities, but still it is all for the completion of its own purpose. It is the completion of its own purpose. The soul's purpose is so big, is so infinite, that it needs multiple lives to do so. That's why some people live longer than others, because of the soul's purpose. Sometimes the soul's purpose in this life is to just to get to that convenience store. When they get to the convenience store, a shootout pops up, and then somebody catches a body. That person's soul had seen that, okay, I cannot continue with my purpose as this person anymore. It's time for me to move on. And then it moves on. Whilst you are still alive, acknowledge that your soul still needs this body to actually accomplish the purpose that you have in this to a purpose that you have in this life. Therefore, if your body is still contained, if your body is still preserved, know that your purpose is still not yet fulfilled, meaning you cannot stagnate. It's not wise to stagnate. It's not wise to just get used to things. It's not wise to call the everyday the mundane, especially if you feel your purpose is something monumental. If your purpose is something that you know what it is. So I say that to say this: spiritual true growth is spiritual growth. At some point in the history of Earth, our physical bodies stopped maturing just because they are going through time. They actually they actually are stagnating. The whole aging process is an illusion. The true aging, the true maturity is through the cycle centers known as the chakras. If you do not grow your chakras, if you do not mature through the chakras, you will stagnate. Even the chakras themselves, you can, even if you reach the seventh chakra, the crown chakra, yes, you can reach it, but then you also have to know that there's still more. There's always more. That is not the limit. So literally, when you actually accomplish the act of opening up all these chakras, there is still more to learn. There's still more to know, because if you are still alive when you reach the highest heavens, it means that there's still more to learn, even though you are at the highest heavens. I love y'all. Peace.